We thank you so much for joining us from Chicago today. And I know you got off.
Yes.
I know you got off work early this morning and got up early to speak with us. We really appreciate it, and we are recording this also for our friends at Rosa Scott, Germantown High School, and Ridgeland High School in Madison County Schools. And we have just started talking about the hospitality and tourism career cluster. And I spent 11 years in it myself in the restaurant industry. I also spent 3 years behind the bar myself. So I know how lucrative and also how overwhelming and different it is from other jobs, because it really is unlike any other job in the world to work in a restaurant in the service industry. And I know we briefly looked at some of the stuff you've got going on online, some of your online articles. You've really made a name for yourself up there with Causing a Stir and some other things, and we'll talk about that. So
Yeah.
before we get into all that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into it and a little bit about what it is you do on an everyday basis up there in the Windy City.
Yes. So, hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Brown. I am a Chicago native, have lived and thrived in Chicago and created a career path here in hospitality. I think that, I've always had a passion for meeting new people, for helping people. And I kind of fused my theater background with that love and working in restaurants and bars. So that's kind of where my background is working in restaurants, providing hospitality in that medium. And now I represent a spirits brand and do education on production for them. But it has gotten me, I've had a full journey. But I think that, when I talk about hospitality and I talk about how I kind of got into this role, I have to talk about my roots, right? I come from a background of individuals that, were always hosting. My family was always hosting, friends, other family. Our doors were always open. We were always, cooking for others. We were just very helpful and just wanting to see others thrive. So I come from just a definitely a basic root of just providing, right? And being of service. I worked before I got in this role. When I was able to work, I was working in retail. So retail is another aspect of hospitality. And I think that that's where I really knew that I loved helping people. And I think the earliest that I started working in that space was about 16, 17. And
very related, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that just customer service was always something that I kind of vied for, even if it was, like I said, I love people. So I just tried to change that medium as I got 21 and started working with cocktails and spirits. So I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm going to focus more so on just hospitality, as you all shouldn't be focusing on.
Before you came on, it's like I said, just because you work in the bar industry doesn't mean you're a drinker, because I'm not a big drinker. But I was able to make a lot of money off of it just knowing about. I worked in an Italian restaurant. I really had to learn the wine service. I learned the wine presentation. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I was drinking it, but I was sure as heck selling it. And
yeah.
in Mississippi, we have a big casino industry. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big gambler, but again, there's a lot of money to be made just by entertaining the tourists that are coming in and spending the money there, because somebody has to be staffing these places. And that doesn't mean mm-hmm. that you're a gambler or a drinker, but you can still make a great career out of it.
No, certainly. And that's why I kind of have some of these kind of reading materials, tools to kind of get into more. So I think that people, a lot of times we look at, like you said, we look at the actual, what it is. And overall, the overarching thing is helping people, being a service to people. And there's a book called A Time for New Dreams. It's by Ben Okri. Ben Okri is a Nigerian author. So I'll talk about even how I came around about this book. I was actually speaking in Nigeria on a panel, and I just happened to stop by a bookshop, and I got really tied to this book for some reason. And he has a piece in here that talks about hospitality. And I'll just read a few of these pieces just because it kind of just reigns very true. to, just what I think. And I'll get into, like I said, like literally bartending, seeing a need, wanting to help people kind of got me that opportunity to go to Africa and speak with the Bartenders Guild there and talk about, just diversity and inclusion in a different space. So there are a lot of great opportunities that hospitality can rear you in if you go back to the root of it. And that's what Ben O'Cree talks about. So there's a piece that he says, hospitality begins in the soul. Hospitality is more than a rational, deliberate act. It is a way of being.
Yep.
Hospitality ought to be built into a people's way of living. A people can only live the art of hospitality if they transform what they are. Hospitality is not a habit. It is a genius of self that recognizes the genius of other selves.
Wow.
Hospitality takes us back to the root of humanity, the source of rivers. Hospitality is not a tolerance or charity, nor is it weakness. Hospitality can only come from the true strength of knowing what one is and the tranquility of allowing other people the strength of what they are.
Wow.
I think that one is a really good one.
Wow.
Hospitality is a secret affirmation of the oneness of humanity, a sort of secular kinship. Hospitality is something we should be able to extend not just to our friends, but even to our enemies. The idea of hospitality is challenged most when we are dealing with the unknown. It means that we have faith first, even when we have evidence, even before we have evidence. The ideal of hospitality does not die when it has been betrayed, but it is only made wiser. So, just saying that even though someone doesn't extend it to you, that doesn't mean that they're betraying to you. It just makes you wiser on how to go about situations. I think that even in this space, we are allowed a lot of critical thinking skills, and how we deal with certain situations is a reflection of our character, not the person who we're doing. And I think that that's what that reigns to. Hospitality requires courage and wisdom. According to Lao Tzu, the truest hospitality is when the host is like a guest and the guest is like a host.
Absolutely.
Hospitality has to be both wise and sane. Philosophically, there's no such thing as hospitality because we are all guests on this planet and we are all guests in life. And there are a few other, he goes into, it's a couple different pieces there, but this is a great book. I don't know if you can get it in America, but I always, whenever I'm talking and doing my hospitality classes and workshops, I always kind of start with that. I always start with those mantras and really grasping people's minds around where hospitality lies in our humanity, and that it does start within us, and it is a choice that we make, and it's a choice that we should choose every day. Just the old saying that treat others as you want to be treated, but knowing oneself is an important piece. And that brings me to another piece of literature that kind of changed my life, and it's The Courage to Create by Rollo May. Rollo May was a philosopher, and there are some pieces in here that really helped me on my journey of really believing in myself, really just understanding and knowing that I was on the right path, or even coming up with the path that I wanted to go on. But The Courage to Create and creating yourself and creating a pathway for yourself, that one is another good book to pick up. And it's an easy read. It's not that big. So you can finish it in a few days. Just spend about 20 to 30 minutes reading it. There's not a lot of chapters, but it's a really good one. But yeah, those are just some pieces.
Yeah. Now, one thing we were talking about before we came on as well is that when you're in the hospitality industry, it's different because you're at work when everybody else is off. So it's like you're always getting to go out and be a part of the party. If you have that mindset of, you're going to have a good time too. It's amazing how much more that money comes in when you make yourself part of the experience, because
yes,
it is the most customer driven cluster there is, and it's not even close. So because I know you got off work at 2 a.m. this morning. So how different is how different is that? Because it's not like a normal work schedule. When I was in a full time, I would go in at 4 p.m. and get off at midnight. So
Yeah.
it's a different in that, but it is kind of fun.
It is very fun. I think that you have to find, because there are times where you are going to work on holidays. You're going to work maybe even on your birthday. I found that working on my birthday was more lucrative than not working on my birthday. People are going to appreciate you more. They see that work ethic. They recognize that. They reward you for that. There are a lot of rewards in this role that I think people take for granted. When you think about it, in hindsight, you're like, I don't want to work on holidays. I want my time to myself, or I don't want to work the weekends or this and this and that. But when you truly love what you do, and like you said, you're creating an experience for individuals. You're creating an experience for your guests. You are the host. And the more knowledgeable you are about your craft, the more educated you are on processes and doing things that are smarter, not harder for you, you'll find joy in what you do. And every career hospitality professional, like you said, working those late nights, we find joy in what we do. It doesn't feel like work. And you create the fun, you create the experience that you want to have. You're leading and guiding people. So I think that while for someone that works a 9 to 5, or for someone that is kind of like on a set schedule, it is a up and down. We have been called vampires at some point, but just and that's in all industries, not even just in the restaurant, in the hotels, when you think about that, in the casinos, all of those spaces, like, you are giving a little bit of yourself, and that selfishness is always rewarded because it is in service of others. So it is different. It's a commitment. It's a lifestyle change also. And just the more mindful that you are, like I said, in service, and that you are dedicating a piece of yourself to others, I think that that's where I find my joy in.
Yeah, and then also in a place like Chicago, I mean, even when I was bartending here in Mississippi, it's amazing how many people you meet that don't live where you live. So you also become like a representative of the city, a representative of the state. So it really gives people that impression of the hospitality of the entire city. People, if I'd have had a bad experience in Chicago at one bar, that might make me not want to ever come to Chicago again. Now, I'm a big Cubs fan, so I'm coming back. But if people are passing through, they're like, man, those people in Mississippi are jerks. I'm not stopping there again. So it really is. You're the face of the entire city.
No, most certainly. And, not to get gory, but I mean, we have to talk about the historical aspects of hospitality too. And, coming out of Reconstruction, that was hospitality. And, moving to the North, those jobs of being in service were ways that people literally open doors for themselves to new opportunities. When I think about the Pullman porters that were based here in Chicago, the majority of those people came from the South. They created their own unions. They met and traveled the world on those trains. But they were being of service. They were working the trains, working those the car trains, and providing service for others. And that was a way that they created and provided for their family, and were exposed to different things and people. And the Pullman community here in Chicago, those were all some of the first Black homeowners coming out of Reconstruction and coming out of slavery. So, I look at this as definitely a window and a door for opportunity. I've met so many different people. I have served Beyonce, Beyonce and Jay-Z at festivals. I have been able to meet constituents, political constituents that, that make laws and, can kind of change our trajectory. And those are spaces that I would never have been able to be in unless I was in that position. And I talk about that a lot because it has offered me a lot of opportunities. Like I just said, being a bartender and just being in front of certain people, having people feel my presence, my passion, my charisma, allotted me opportunities to be in spaces that I probably never would have been able to be in. I just worked an event about a year ago at the old Barnum and Bailey's house here in Chicago, and it's in Evanston. But the owner, the now owner, is a former Northwestern coach or basketball player, and he was hosting something at his house. And I got asked to come just because I was giving him high levels of service. And he was like, I would love to host you in my home and have you host some of the other players for a dinner for our alumni dinner. So, being in that space, like I said, if you have a great personality, if you love people, you love meeting new people, hospitality is a great way to open, like I said, open doors that you necessarily wouldn't be able to just in general.
Yeah, and and we have very levels of education that kids come out of high school and do. We have a great hospitality program in a couple of the colleges here at Jackson State, which is HBCU, and Southern Miss, which is where I went. But this is a field where if you're good at what you do, that college education isn't as important as not having it. If you're good at it, these companies are going to want to move you up. These bars are going to want to put you in front of people. So there's a lot of money to be made there where, you can't learn sales skills. Well, you can learn sales skills without going to college. You can learn how to deal with people without going to college. Now, I'm not saying everybody watching now or later, do or don't go to college, do what's best for you. But if this is something you're interested in, that's not something you would necessarily have to have in order to be successful.
I do not have a college degree. I went to college. I did a few years. And like I said, I would never encourage anyone to not go to college if that's the pathway that you want to go on. But there are opportunities within that realm that you get on the job training. Yep. You literally learn from experience when you are in hospitality. The more time, the more effort you put into it, it rewards. I have been in the industry for over 11 to 12 years. Like I said, I did go to college. I went to a couple of different colleges, and it just that structure wasn't for me. But I have been able to, like I said, the full-time position that I'm in now, I make almost 6 figures, and that is without a college degree. Wow. And it's really just because I honed in on my craft. I took it seriously. I made sure that whatever certifications I needed, I did ongoing education classes for that. I did my own research. Like I read a lot of books. These are windows to other people's perspectives, and you get to know just the world through books and reading books as well. I have another book that I love, and that it's called Notes from a Black Chef, from a Young Black Chef, Kwame. I worked with him at it was called Iconoclast dinner. He did the food. I did the cocktails for it. It was in New York, and I met him, and he was 27 years old when he opened up his first restaurant. And he's gone on now to be on Food Network. He has written, I think he is on his second book now. And I just think about, like, I'm pretty sure that he didn't finish or go to college either, but he has made a very lucrative career for himself just because of his passion and his attention to detail and just honing in on the craft.
It really is knowing the guest. It's knowing what the market wants, knowing what the guest wants. And if you can do that and then sell it, you can make a lot of money.
No, absolutely. I think that there's just a lot of great, I love this industry. Like I said, I've met so many people from so many different walks of life. I've created lifelong relationships with individuals that, come from different cultures, different backgrounds. It has opened me up and made me a more inclusive and diverse individual because of it. I come from the South Side of Chicago, okay? And Chicago is very segregated.
Yeah, we have a couple of teachers here from the South Side, so they're worldwide. But we have a couple. We have a teacher here that went to Chicago Vocational School.
Yep, CVS. Yeah, so I went to grammar school not too far from there, and I used to actually do after school program at the Chicago Vocational School, and it was a huge school and it had so many opportunities. But some people from the South Side never get to leave the South Side. Some people from the South Side, don't even go downtown or have never been to the Sears Tower or the John Hancock building, have never, been to Lake Michigan sometimes, depending on how their proximity to the east side. So, I think that, like I said, hospitality, being in service has allowed me opportunities to see the world, to see different spaces, to see different parts of my city, let alone the world. And if that's something that you're interested in and you're not necessarily a traditional or conventional learner, learning by experience and hopping in that world, the hospitality world will allow you new opportunities and it just open you up. And I always encourage, people from where I come from. That's how I started Causing a Stir, because I saw that there was, as I was elevated and as I was exploring new opportunities, I found myself being one of the only women of color, persons of color in the room. And, I wanted to change that. So I started that organization to kind of bridge the gap and spread opportunities, spread knowledge, spread just in general resources. Sometimes we don't get access to resources, and I think that it's great that you reached out and have me talking to your I'm happy to talk, do this talk, and just like understanding where our reach is. Sorry, I got lost, but understanding our reach, where your reach could go, and just understanding that nothing is impossible and nothing is without a reach. You just have to see it and kind of want it.
Yeah, and before I get to these students' questions, and I got some great ones, let's talk a little bit about
Okay.
Causing because it is a nonprofit that you run to get more diversity in the hospitality industry. And I can tell you, just from the outside looking in, as somebody that's been 11 years in the industry, kind of the stigma, and I think it's nationwide, kind of the stigma is you put a lot of the white people in the front of the house, and then we'll hire the minorities, but they need to be in the back cooking. And that's completely unfair, and it's not the norm we need to have, because that's not the face of the country. So what is Causing a Stir done that kind of changed that stigma? As you said, you're one of the few Black female bartenders in the city. How are you pushing to get more diversity in the front of and the customer facing aspects of the hospitality industry?
Yeah, so like I said, always bridging the gap. I've created opportunities for bartenders that come from where I come from that maybe don't work in the same type of bars that I've had the privilege to work in. Since I have these relationships with these bars and restaurants, I'm always making referrals. I'm always doing trainings and like I said, bridging that gap. So there are a few. Bartenders that come from like the West Side. There's one girl that I did a workshop with, and out of that workshop, she felt empowered enough to go and get a job at the Langham Hotel, which is a very nice luxury hotel here in Chicago. Yeah. And it was strictly just because she felt empowered with the tools that she received from doing a workshop with us, and apply for that job. I helped her with her resume. We had people that were helping take experiences and learning how to kind of finesse them a little bit to fit within the realm that you needed it to fit to apply for a job. I've had a couple other people that have moved from Chicago and gone into other spaces like New Orleans or New York. Some people have traveled to even Atlanta. And, just from even saying Causing a Stir, since we are a national organization, and we have been we started in 2016. So our mission has been kind of pushing since then. When they name drop Causing a Stir, just saying that they had an association with Causing a Stir, they are more so able to open up those doors for them and just get positions that they wouldn't normally get. They'll take a chance on them because they know that if you are associated with Causing a Stir, that means that you're passionate. That means you care about what you're doing, and you are, even if you don't know everything, you have a willingness to learn, and that you want to just have get the opportunity. And we've gotten a lot of brands and a lot of spaces that say, you know what, we don't know where to look for talent. Can you help us? Can you help us and refer some people? So it works both ways. But I'm glad that people are not feeling intimidated, that people are now being more open to that. So those are just a couple examples of things. We've also gotten opportunities for people to travel the world. We hosted a cocktail class where 5 contestants that participated in it were able to go to France and go to the Grey Goose and visit the Grey Goose distillery. And we have a few more from another competition last year that will be going to France, going to Cognac because of cocktails that they submitted and did a workshop.
Yeah, I know you guys are burning the internet up right now. I mean, there's no way to not find information, because right before we came on, we looked at some of the stuff that you've been in, and it's unbelievable the footprint that Causing a Stir has nationally right now. National. And like you said, you have people going all over the country. This is a job you can do anywhere. So, we have kids here in Mississippi that say, I want to live somewhere else. Get in the hospitality industry. You can move to Las Vegas. You can move to Chicago. New Orleans and Memphis are a 3-hour drive either way to the largest hospitality cities in the country. So working there, you live in one of those cities, get in this industry. It can be done.
It certainly can. New Orleans is one of my favorite places. I think that hospitality is just something that runs through the blood, and just the air there. It is just instilled in everyone. I know that, like, my grandparents are from the South. I spent summers in Monticello, Georgia, so very rural Georgia, and just the South does have a different type of aspect of hospitality and service. Anyway, it's just innately in them. But New Orleans is a very special place. So if anybody is interested in going to New Orleans, I do have a lot of great connections there, and definitely love New Orleans.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to get to some of these questions, and these are all nice. These are some great questions. This first one, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. This is Lacuria Luckett, and she said, when you were working in the hospitality and tourism cluster in Chicago, how did you cope with COVID affecting your job?
So, at one point in time, all of the restaurants were closed. But the funny thing about Chicago is, where there's a will, there's a way. They will find some innovation. So the true innovation really came out the pandemic. Virtual classes, these types of things actually opened me up to speaking and talking and leading cocktail demos with individuals and groups that, again, I never would have been in contact with. It was first the virtual demos and working with groups, because people were like, we can't get together, so we have to do something virtually. Happy hours, those happy hours were really important. And then with the restaurants being closed, they got innovative with doing things outside. So they started creating these little globes or igloos or huts that people could be in, and they heated them and made sure that they were temperature controlled. But since they couldn't be inside, they created little experiences for people outside so that they could still get that money rolling. So Chicago is very innovative. Like I said, they'll find a way. To-go cocktails were one thing, a lot of takeout and a lot of to-go, which employed a lot of door dashing and Uber Eats jobs as well. So we got innovative with how to combat those issues, and it wasn't, it was definitely hard for everyone. But if you are able to pivot, which is another skill that you learn being in this problem solving, critical thinking, you'll make a way. So we actually made it work.
This is Sanaja Johnson, and she asked, how do you deal with bad customers?
So again, remember I was quoting some things out of Ben O'Cree's book. You have to know that is not an outward reflection of you. That is something that they're dealing with from within. So if someone is being rude or negative to me, I have kind of just, I have an understanding that has nothing to do with me, and that's something that they're dealing with. So all you can do is give them good service. You have to, not saying kill people with kindness, but you have to be overly kind to individuals like that. So it's like, I have to talk in hushed tones. I was like, is everything all right? I'm going to have to ask you not to speak to me in that manner, but can I help you with something else? You always have to greet people with discernment to know that they are broken or going through something, and that is just how they're projecting it onto you. They don't know you. They don't have a vendetta against you. You can't take those things personally. But in that role, and I'm not saying that you have to, you can just dismiss yourself and just say, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to get someone else. Or you can be very stern with it. If you're going to speak to me in that manner, I can't help you. Or you can take that as a learning opportunity, which I do a lot of times, which I shouldn't sometimes, because it is a lot of emotional stress that you kind of go through. But you have a choice is what I'm saying. You have a choice. And sometimes I look at my role as even a therapist. And again, I like to help people. So if I see that someone is hurting or someone is going through something, I will go through extensive situations where I will try to like get to the bottom of it. Like, you obviously are going through something. I hope that this cocktail can make you better. I hope, let me get you something warm or fuzzy to drink because you obviously need it. Or maybe let me get you something bright. So I try to be, like I said, a problem solver in some cases, but I never take it personal. You can never take those type of things personal.
Absolutely. This is Reginald Cooper, and he asked, how chaotic does your job get? And when there's a lot of people there, do you ever get overwhelmed?
So actually, the more people are there, the more tunnel vision I get, and the more I'm able to kind of focus and just kind of like that's when the stage happens. So you know how you're on, well, I don't know if you know, but when you're on stage and they say like pretend, you really can't see what's going on outside. You just are doing what you know to do, and kind of muscle memory kind of kicks in. It literally is the stage, and it's like people are watching you. I'm just cranking it out. I'm just kind of like focused, super focused. So that has I think that I've mastered it now, where I don't get intimidated, or I don't I don't let the chaos get to me. It's kind of more so that's when I am able to just literally perform. And then the more you perform, the more money you get, because people are watching you and they're like, dang, she's really working. Like, she's not sweating under pressure. She's just knocking those tickets out. She's getting it done. And you do it with a smile, because like you said, I love what I do. So no, not necessarily.
This is Camaria Smith, and she asked, how do you talk a young girl into getting into your field?
Well, I just do it. I think that, one, like I said, I think about a lot of things when I was in this role. So when I first started this role, I was handing out samples at the grocery store, and that was kind of just being in front. That was my practice, right? That was my practice on working on how I present myself, how I look, being approachable, figuring out ways that I made myself kind of look the part. I want to look like a professional. I want to look like someone that you would want to come up to and get this, even if I engage you and I'm with a smile. I had to do a lot of work on myself. I had to, figure out who I wanted to present to people. And, sometimes you have to be wary of that, because, when you think of the bar and, how you present yourself, it can go one way or the other. So just be true to who you are and make sure that you uphold your standards, and that you are presenting the best version of yourself anytime that you're presenting yourself to others. So that's kind of like the best advice. I hope that helps.
This is Leonard Garrett, and he asked, in being a bartender, do you ever invent any drinks? And how does being a bartender impact your life?
Yes, I'm always creating drinks, and they're always coming from my past experiences. They are inspired by individuals. Like I said, I read a lot, so they might be inspired by characters. They might be inspired by family members, advice, quotes, philosophers, just anything that I've encompassed in my life. I try to make my cocktails very intentional to tell stories. I want to tell my story. I want to tell other stories. So I utilize ingredients and utilize storylines to tell that. So I'm always creating cocktails, whether it's for NBA, for a specific event, or for other people's events. I try to create things that are reminiscent of them. So I always ask, if I'm doing a private event for maybe someone's birthday or something, I always ask them, hey, is there something that I can, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite ingredient? What do you love to drink? I'm always creating something. What was the second part of that question?
In the market. He said, how does that impact your life?
Yeah, so I just give a little piece of myself with every cocktail that I do. I have a book. It's called The Flavor Bible. Again, I'm always referencing books. It's called The Flavor Bible. A lot of chefs use it, but it has different ingredients in there. If you are interested in the culinary arts, if you are interested in getting and making non-alcoholic beverages, it is something that you can definitely pick up. It tells you what pairings, what things go with, just from historical standpoints, what has just systemically been in the world of culinary. So that's a book that I keep handy whenever I'm creating cocktails or pairings for food.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up about the non-alcoholics, because sometimes you have people that want to be out, but they can't drink for health reasons. They're going to be driving, they're pregnant or things like that, but they still want to be a part of the experience. So
Most
being able
certainly.
to make those non-alcoholic drinks as well. And I know I looked at the menu at the Drifter, there's non-alcoholic drinks there, and I'm like, if somebody's got to be the designated driver, they can still have a great time. They can still spend good money. Or if somebody's having a health issue or something they can't partake that night, they can still be a part of the fun. So I think that's a great thing. And I think that's a huge part. And you see more and more places are getting more creative with that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that the non-alcoholic sector, that's a great place to start and learn flavor profiles, manipulating ingredients to bring out certain flavors and to complement certain flavors, because when you add a spirit, you're adding to it just like cooking. So if you create that base, those non-alcoholic bases, and you're just adding the spirit to complement it, when you get to that point, then that's a great craft to know as well. And that's kind of like where a lot of cocktails start. It starts with the flavor profile, not with the spirit, not necessarily.
I 100% agree. Now this is the last one I have from the students. This is DeKyla Nettle. And she asked, what is the most challenging part of working in your field as a Black woman?
I think that there have been a lot of different challenges. One with just getting opportunities. I think another challenge was being respected, because this is something, this is a role that kind of like has been very sexualized. And I think that, proving myself to be a professional, like I am a hospitality professional. Yes, I bartend. Yes, I'm a mixologist, but above all, all I encompass is I am a hospitality professional. And I think that, proving myself, I get imposter syndrome still to this day, where I don't think that I'm good enough. So it's just, that I have to remind myself and continue to elevate myself. Those might be personal things, but as a Black woman, I mean, that is very it is what it is. So just continuously evolving and feeling like I have to prove myself have been some of the challenges, proving my worth and creating more value for myself. Those have always been some challenges that I still go through to this day. But I'm strong Black woman. So I definitely push past it, and I definitely keep in mind where I come from and where I want to go. So you just have to keep your eye on the prize. So challenges I look at just as obstacles that we're kind of like hurdling over.
That's awesome. Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for getting up early and joining us this morning. But before we go, first of all, I got to get up to Chicago. I haven't been in forever. I got to get up now. I got to try out the Drifter. It looks like a fun place. Hopefully we won't have a strike, but I'm a huge Cubs fan. I got to get up to Wrigley Field.
That's all right.
Best friends works at DePaul, so I'm always trying to get to see him and his family. So I definitely got to get up there, and we got to hang out. But before we go, everybody that's watching with me now is a young Black student in America. Now, obviously, we're in rural Mississippi. You're in the big city, but they're going to face the same challenges you face growing up in this country as a Black student. I mean, I'm the biggest person in the world. I always say I don't know, but I realize it is very hard to be Black in this country. So they're going to face the same obstacles you face, but yet you become a very the rep you're getting online right now, and your presence on the internet has just grown by the day. And you did that as a young Black woman, and you even said yourself you don't even have a college degree, but you're still doing some great stuff. So what can they do to follow in the footsteps of someone like you to be just as successful?
Believe you can. Don't subscribe to what has been, and just know that you can overcome whatever. And like I said, if there are challenges, just look at them as obstacles that you have to hurdle over. You got to keep your eye on the prize and know that you are not what your circumstances are, and you can be greater than your circumstances. I do believe in not to get very spiritual, but I believe in prayer. I believe in manifestation. I believe that seeing it, so you see it. It is
Things.
Possible.
Thoughts become things.
Thoughts become things. It is possible. I manifested everything that I have accomplished. I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be, I knew I wanted stages. I knew I wanted to meet people. I knew I wanted that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a very specific thing. You just have to literally find within your heart what it is that you want, and it can come into fruition. I think that I'm a living testament. I've been through a lot I didn't even touch on, just personal things. I was in a very, very horrible car accident in 2019. That's why my mouth is all wired up now. But I broke my jaw, I broke my hand, I broke my leg, my arm. I couldn't walk. I was out of work for a good amount of time. And it was an opportunity for me to, again, channel who I wanted to be coming out of this, understand why this was happening to me and where I wanted to go out of this. And having that will, your willpower is everything. Your mind is so powerful, and you have to use it in a proper way. So think things into existence, manifest what you want, really dive in and spend some time with yourself and in your heart and in the core of you of what it is that you truly want, and not the materialistic things. So things that you want to give or contribute to humanity, those things. Think about those, and your pathway will guide you. And just know that there are people that are doing it, that are literally, that come from nothing and have created something out of it. And I'm a living testament to that. So just believe that you can, and don't subscribe to what people tell you. Know who you are, know where you're going, and you will get there.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, Causing a Stir has a great social media presence. A couple of them have already followed you on Instagram. Lex Luga, LEXLUGA, great Instagram follow, great inspirational words on there, and you got some hilarious lives as well on top of that. But again, Alexis Brown, thank you so much for joining us. And I know, get some rest. I know you got up early to be with us, but do some amazing things up there in the Windy City. And I got to tell you, from Chicago, I meet Go Cubs.
Well, thank you all for having me. And like I said, if you have questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me, but nothing alcohol related. Okay, guys?
You got a good reaction on that one. I thought that was pretty good.
Okay, good. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye.